What is going on, my fellow nerds? OperatorOtter here, and today we are going to discuss the most requested question from my most recent Spiritborn video, which is resource generation, the amount needed to achieve that effect that shows all the orange numbers for permanent overpowers in a fashion I like to call the Kepeleke effect. First, let's define what the Kepeleke effect is and how to test for it. So what we're going to discuss is how to properly test for the Kepeleke effect. And the reason we're doing this is there are some streamers and content creators that when they show their gameplay, all you're seeing is orange numbers. And when you play, you're seeing a rainbow of colors. And you could be thinking to yourself, hey, I'm not getting the Kepeleke effect. Something's going wrong. When very realistically, you could have the Kepeleke effect working. It just doesn't look that way. And the reason being is that if you go to your options and you go to your gameplay, you could have your normal damage numbers and your crit damage numbers turned online. The reason this is a problem is because Scourge, Ravager, Hunter, Vortex, and your Jaguar Spirit Hall all deal damage, which means that you can see whites, you can see yellows, you can see blues, you can see oranges, and because of that, it'll look something like this. And what you can see is I got whites, I got yellows, I got oranges, and I got blues. So how do we actually see the actual proper Kepeleke? The way that we do this is we go to our gameplay, we turn off the normal and the crit damage numbers, and now the damage is just tied to your quill volleys, and when you actually attack the target, you should see something like this. This is a proper Kepeleke effect. Every single attack is oranges, every single time they are proccing. This is a proper Kepeleke effect. This is what you want to be seeing. Now, how can you tell if you do not have the Kepeleke effect online? Well, what happens is that if you do not have enough resource generation to refill your vigor every single time, what's going to happen is you're not going to overpower every single hit, and then sometimes when you do overpower, it's not going to crit, so you'll see an alternation of blues and oranges, and sometimes you won't see any damage numbers at all, and it'll look something like this. As you can see, you're not seeing damage numbers every single time I attack. You're seeing more blues than you're seeing oranges. This is bad. This is not the Kepeleke effect. This is not what you want to be seeing. Now that we know what the Kepeleke effect looks like and how to test for it, we need to discuss what is happening under the hood to make this happen. Well, first things first, just to get this out of the way, you need 240 Vigor with Banished Talisman to make this work. This is because Banished Talisman is taking the base cost of Quill Volley being 35 and subtracting it from the 275 required to make the skill Overpower. It's weird, but just trust me on this one. From here, Rada Kepeleke states that it will consume all your vigor to make your next attack crit, be big, and have a huge damage modifier. Now, this damage gain is so massive that we actually want to achieve this in every single cast of our core skills, which will be accomplished by using Ring of Midnight Sun with a bunch of resource generation multipliers. Those multipliers are Ravager, Vigorous, Paragon Nodes, Intelligence, Temporals, and Shroud of False Death if you have it. What's interesting about each of these is that every unique source of resource generation is actually multiplicative with itself, including the Paragon Nodes. Now, I know in the previous video I said sapping was a multiplier, and I just straight up lied to you. This was not my intention to misinform you, but nonetheless I did so just know that the sapping node does not literally do anything for the resource generation at all. But there are Paragon Nodes that do heavily affect our resource generation multiplicatively, so let's talk about those. So here we have Opportunist with 3 2% resource generation nodes. If we meet the strength and intelligence marks needed to turn Opportunist online, then you would think that we get 8 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 or 14% resource generation. Well, what's actually happening is that each are multiplying on top of each other, so it's actually 8% times 2% times 2% times 2% or 14.6%. Now this isn't a big gain versus being additive, but it is a cool piece of information nonetheless. The trick that we need to do is to get the percent roll intrinsic on our Ring of Midnight Sun in tandem with the resource multipliers to be equal to or greater than 1 in order to reset our entire resource pool and turn Kepeleke back online for the next attack. To do this, we need to play a rather complicated game of mixing and matching these multipliers together to achieve that value. So here we have an example where our Ring of Midnight Sun's value is 50%. We have Ravager at 30%, Paragon is at 14.6%, Vigorous is at 15%, and then our Intelligence is 329, which gives 9.9% resource generation, and our Temper in the Ring is 9%. Will this be enough to engage the Kepeleke effect? Well, from our calculations, yes it will, as the value is greater than 1, so let's see if this works. So what I have in game is exactly that. We have our 329 intelligence, we have our 50% ring, and here is our 9% resource generation. Let's find out if this satisfies the Kepeleke effect. Voila, it does. That's awesome. All right, so we're not full of it there, but we're going to go into a second example to show what happens if you don't reach the breakpoint by like less than 1%. All right, so now what we're going to do to limit test the accuracy of the calculations that I've made and to build confidence in my audience so that you know that I'm not full of it. What we're going to do is we're going to run a Ring of Midnight Sun at 47% with the same multipliers, 329 intelligence, but we need to figure out what the temper roll is. Well, from these calculations, it says that we need at least a 13.1% resource generation temper in our ring. So let's go ahead and do that. If we go into the character stat sheet, I have 329 intelligence. Here's my 47% roll ring, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a ring with 12.3% resource generation. This is 0.8% resource generation less than what the calculations say is needed. Let's see if this works. It does not, in fact, work. We are getting blues. We are getting some oranges. In fact, we aren't even getting some damage numbers at all. So this is not a proper Kepeleke effect. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put on a ring that has 13.2% resource generation, which is 0.1% higher than what we said was needed and only 0.8% higher than the ring that we actually have at the moment. And let's see if this works. Voila, the Permaleki effect is online, and we are good to go. All right, so what we're going to do for the last practical example before we get into the Google Doc sheet for the calculators, we're going to kind of knock out two birds with one stone. First thing, let's talk about Shroud of False Death. If you have a Shroud of False Death that is 12 out of 12 Masterworks and you're at least Paragon 200, you will have at least 550 intelligence. At 550 intelligence, all you need is a 44% roll or better on Ring of Midnight Sun, and you're good to go. The Permaleki effect is good. You do not need to worry about anything from there. And Shroud of False Death is the best in slot item for any Rod of Kepeleke based core build. It's not just Quill Volley. You can use any core build and it works. So if you don't have Shroud of False Death, I would highly suggest trying to go farm that or try to make that with the runes. If you do have it, put it on, you're good to go. But for those of you who do not have it and you're trying to figure out how to create the Permaleki effect, we're going to reverse things, because in example 2, I knew how much intelligence I had, but I didn't know what the temper roll is. And from the calculations that I did, I was able to give you confidence that I can calculate what you need for the temper. What we're going to do now is we're going to reverse it. We know what our temper roll is, but we don't know how much intelligence we have. Now, I know that I'm saying Shroud here, which is 16.1%. This could be Shroud. It could be a temper roll in the ring. It doesn't matter. They're both independent multipliers for your resource generation, so you're good to go there. It doesn't matter. But from these calculations, it says that I need 474 intelligence. That is the intelligence breakpoint that I need. So if we go into game, I have 470 intelligence. I have my Shroud of False Death with 16.1% resource generation, and this is my 44% ring. This should not work according to the calculations. Let's find out. This, in fact, does not work. We are getting blue numbers. We are getting orange numbers. This is not working. This is not a proper Permaleki effect. But if I go into my Paragon and I give myself 5 more intelligence, which is 1 more than what that calculation said, I needed 474. Let's see if this works. Congratulations. The Permaleki effect is online. All right. So that's just doubling down on the fact that I want you to have confidence in my ability to give you the correct numbers for the Google Sheets calculator. So now let's get into that, talk about it so that you can get this thing online and rolling. Alrighty, so this is the resource generation calculator for the Permaleki effect. We're going to go through this in a little bit, but this is in a Google Docs link in the description below. And when you open this up, all you need to go is go to File, and you just make a copy. You have your own copy for your own personal use, and you are good to go. So let's go through this each one by one. So for the Ring of Midnight Sun, you just put in what you have here. We'll say we got 47%. That's going on right here. You can literally just put in any number. It's going to be 25 to 50. Just put a number right there. For the Ravager, don't modify it. Don't touch it. It's bad. Don't touch it. It's bad. All right. For Vigorous, you only want to click 1. You don't want to click multiple, or else they're going to multiply on top of each other. Not good. I couldn't really change that. It's okay. So just collect 1 box. You can get 4 points of Vigorous by using your Shroud of False Death, and then you go up here, and you can see that you have 4 out of 3 points. This is because of Shroud of False Death plus 3 points. Easy enough. For the Paragon, this is going to be the Opportunist node. This will be located in your Sapping board under Hubris, which is right here, which is cool. You can actually do something pretty cool here where you can take out these 2 resource generation nodes. So if you want to min-max, you can actually take these 2 out. For most players, you're going to want all the points there, so make sure that you have those. And then for the intelligence, you can just put in an amount of intelligence. So let's say you have 350 intelligence. And then for the temper or the Shroud of False Death, you literally just put in the percentage. So let's say the percentage in our temper roll is 13.2%. You literally just put in 13.2. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to create some examples here to actually figure out how much we actually need in order for this to work. So let's say that we're trying to figure out what the temper roll is needed if we have 350 intelligence. So let's say we have a 47% roll ring. We're going to have 3 points into Vigorous because some people may not have Shroud of False Death. So we're putting 3 points there. We're going to grab all of our nodes. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put in 350 intelligence here. And what this is telling you is that either on your Shroud of False Death or your temper roll, you need a 12.5% resource generation roll. Okay, pretty cool, right? So now let's flip the script and say, hey, I need to figure out how much intelligence I need if I, for example, have a 14.1% roll in the temper. Well, you need 296 intelligence for this one to work. All right, pretty cool. But now let's say, hey, I need to figure out what the roll in the ring needs to be. I have a lot of rings, and I have a really good ring that's like 3 GA, but it's really low on the roll, and I want to know if I can meet it. All right, well, what we can do is we can go here and we can say, hey, I have a 16.2% roll on the ring. I have 400 intelligence. What do I need on Ring of Midnight Sun? You need a 45% roll or higher. This is what's going to make the Permaleki effect work. So now I'm going to show is the Shroud example. So let's say that you have a 50% roll And then I was talking about if you have 16.1% right here, and then at Paragon 200, when you have this, you are going to have 550. And what you can see here is you actually do not need a temper roll at all. You are good to go. You are overcapped actually by 13.6% resource generation. Nothing's needed here. The permalucky effect is online. You're good to go. Now let's talk about some min-max examples for the really big elitists out there that want to do this, right? So a lot of people actually don't want 3 points into vigor. They only want to put 1 point into vigor because they want to save some skills to put into other places, like for example, perseverance, right? So we can actually take 2 points out of this and we can come down here and put in perseverance. All right, so we can go here and we can take this out and we can put in 2 points there. But then the other thing that I want to do is I want to save some paragon points, right? If I don't need these 2 paragon nodes, I don't want them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 2 paragon nodes out. We can take those out. Cool. Let's say that I have a 700 amount of intelligence. I have 700 and I have masterworked my Shroud of False Death. Do I meet the requirement? Yes, I do. Okay, well, let's say that I have a Ring of Midnight Sun. I want to know what roll of Ring of Midnight Sun is going to work because I have a triple GA ring. What will work here? We need a 46% or higher roll of Ring of Midnight Sun if you are going to roll 1 point into Vigorous with Shadow False Death. You have 700 intelligence and you masterworked it to 12 out of 12, but you did not actually crit any of the masterworking on it. And you can modify this as well. It does go up to 18.1%, and that will even lower even more if you want. But with this, you can really play around and you can try out basically every combination to really get you to that permalucky effect so that you can actually enjoy the game and really figure it out. And as you saw from the practical examples, the calculations that I'm showing you are correct to like the 1000th place of the decimal. It is very, very accurate. That's all I have for you. I hope this video and the calculator are able to provide a great source of information for you on how to achieve the permalucky effect. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, or if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. You can also join my Discord or drop by my Twitch when I go live to ask any questions there as well. The links are in the description below. Have a wonderful day, ladies and gents. I'll see you in the next one.